Thank you, Tushar. In a world increasingly defined by unpredictability, agility is king. Welcome to Cleo Connect 2021, the main event. This year's conference comes at a time when the world has become an increasingly unpredictable place. Massive disruptions persist. We are witnessing fires, hurricanes, lockdowns, inflation, geopolitical risk, societal disruptions, raw material shortages, and this list keeps going on and on and on. We're just transitioning out of a global pandemic, and supply chains everywhere are struggling. And companies know that to survive, they need to gain control over uncertainty. But the question is how? The key to outsmarting unpredictability is agility. Organizational agility is a key mandate. And as business leaders and innovation technology experts, we're called to act on the opportunity presented by today's unprecedented situation. During today's conference, you're going to be hearing a lot about agility. And this is because what Cleo enables, ecosystem integration, is what that drives digital transformation. And this is how you get agility. But first, why is agility now king? Agility is now king because agility is a measure of survival. Agility is your ability to react and respond to any situation. And quite frankly, agility is what separates winners from losers. Not all companies are agile. In fact, most are not even close. So if you look at this graphic to your right, where I've plotted the ability to thrive on the horizontal axis and the ability to survive on the vertical axis. What we see is lower left, you see failed companies, now dormant businesses such as Sears, Toys R Us, Bloomingdale's. Above it, we see reactive businesses, right? Companies that do well, but there's not a whole lot of innovation. To lower right, we see companies that are growing leaps and bounds. Companies like Instacart, Warby Parker, Allbirds, but they're not profitable, right? These are companies that belong to the direct-to-consumer part of the economy, which customers love, but they've not yet mastered the supply chain. But if you see upper right, you look at Amazon, Uber, Walmart. These are companies with true agility. They have built and invested in agility as a competitive strategy. Amazon built it into its culture. Let's remember that the founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, used to be a developer, and he developed a platform that has the agility to respond to any and all changes. Right? And Walmart recognizes early enough, and they invested significantly in agility. And today they're an extremely agile business. But how we have reached this point where the most agile companies in the world are the industry leaders, and any company that's not agile is at risk of slow death or extinction. To answer this question, let's review through three things one at a time. First, let's discuss the history and evolution of digital transformation, how it evolved. Second, we'll discuss how and why digital transformation has accelerated during the recent years, particularly the last 18 months. And third, I'll review where we are headed at Cleo and what are the new innovations we are bringing to the market to help you in your quest for agility. First, let's look at the history and evolution of digital transformation. Let's start with e-commerce. Every company has core revenue producing processes, such as order to cash, procure to pay, and load and invoice that governs how a company works with its customers, with its suppliers, transportation providers, financial firms. And these processes stipulate how a company receives orders, buys supplies, manages goods in its supply chain, receives orders, or issues orders, receives payments. EDI emerged as a standard for electronically exchanging information through predefined syntaxes and formats. EDI actually emerged in the 1960s. Standards were set, and very quickly, there were well-defined rules for governance and control. The 1970s saw the VANTs emerging. They emerged to deliver B2B document exchanges. And the EDI translator market started to grow in response to the growing complexity of custom-coded, homegrown applications back then, which enabled EDI translation. And internally, we saw application integration begin to come up. Relative to backends, it was the 1980s, the heydays of the ERPs, and the CRMs emerged in the 1990s. And application integration became mission critical, but over time, it became something which was expected. Right? We saw the emergence of marketplaces by year 2000. Right around Y2K, marketplaces started to appear. And primarily they were around the retail supply chain. By 2010, Amazon completely transformed the retail supply chain by mandating the use of APIs in the Amazon marketplace. And by doing that, they put traditional B2B gateways and integration brokerages on the backseat because there is growing rise of APIs. By the middle of the last decade, we saw tremendous explosion in marketplaces and e-commerce sites, which required the need for front-end cloud software from the likes of Shopify and Magento, which delivered order management solutions. And this one, what we call the B2C e-commerce, has now become pretty commonplace and it's not hard to do. But, and this is really important for us to understand, that the back-end integration with the back-end fulfillment and logistics, let's call it B2B e-commerce, that remains extremely problematic. And that's probably the single biggest inhibitor for B2B e-commerce. I would say back-end fulfillment remains the largest inhibitor to B2B e-commerce. The reason is the back-end is complicated. Right now, you're dealing with 3PLs, trucking companies, freight brokerages, freight forwarders. There's a lot of integration patterns, a lot of SLAs to meet. And so relative to those core revenue critical processes I mentioned, order to cash, procure to pay, and load to invoice, the biggest challenge is to be able to harmonize and create flexibility in your supply chain integration. And here's why it's important. EDI, as you know, is a well-known commodity. You know what you get with EDIs. The standards are clear, like ANSI X12, EDIFACT, etc. So when the rules are clear, it's easy to manage expectations. However, APIs is very different. Right? APIs are developer-led. No standard rules or policies exist. And in such an uncertain world, it's very difficult to manage expectations. So now, the need to manage the uncertainty around APIs where the standards are not set and is not 100% sure what they exactly expect from APIs is why companies need a flexible digital transformation solution. In fact, I would say the best argument to have a flexible integration solution is just a peace of mind that you can manage complexity and you can manage uncertainty. Now, the world has become a very different place, right? There is need for both EDI and API. You need both. So what do? Do you start with EDI and start adding API solutions? Or do you start with an API-based platform and then do you add EDI? The answer is neither. You actually need both. You need both EDI and API in a single platform that blends it to give you end-to-end visibility. And that's needed to survive in today's e-commerce-driven digital transformation world. You need the ability to manage both because they work really, really well together. And that's why in today's e-commerce-driven world of digital transformation, there is an increasing need for a new category of software called ecosystem integration, which blends both EDI and API in a single platform, giving you unparalleled end-to-end visibility. And this is how we define it: an advanced business process-driven approach to connect and integrate the core revenue-producing business processes between a company and its ecosystem partners. That's ecosystem integration. And this is a modern response to two inevitable changes affecting businesses today. Two inevitable changes. First is the irreversible shift to e-commerce that's now happening at an accelerated pace. The second inevitable change is the critical need for supply chain responsiveness in the face of disruption. It could be pandemic, could be the hurricanes, fires, inflation, right? You need the ability to respond. So now let's look at each one of those. First, the irreversible shift to e-commerce. Most people think that the e-commerce boom started because of COVID. Right? But the reality is the e-commerce boom started well in advance. In fact, McKinsey points out in a recent article that there was a 10 years growth of e-commerce penetration in the 3 months during the fourth quarter of 2019, well before COVID was even a thing. Okay? And it's not just McKinsey saying that. The US Department of Commerce reported that during the third quarter of 2020, last year, a year from now, the US saw a 37% year-over-year increase in e-commerce sales. And now get this, Gartner predicts by 2025, 80% of all B2B sales interactions will be in digital channels, not B2C, that's already in digital channels. 80% of all B2B sales interactions will be in digital channels. So the takeaway is clear, right? The macro trend is very clear that e-commerce is accelerating, digital transformation is accelerating, and e-commerce has irreversibly shifted B2B and B2C supply chains. Now let's look at the second inevitable shift, which is around the critical need for supply chain responsiveness. Okay. You have to remember that the enemy of acceleration is disruption. And speaking of disruption, COVID caused digital transformation initiatives to accelerate 3, 5, 10 years. Right? So in many of your companies, I'm sure you're looking at digital transformation efforts, which you might have thought you're going to do in a year from now, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. People are doing it now. And it also shined a spotlight on the gaps and weaknesses in global supply chain, opening up the need for flexible integration platforms to support e-commerce growth. And above all, COVID taught us how fast disruptions can happen, how devastating they can be, and why the only thing we can do is to be prepared when such disruption happens. Because it's not what happens that matters, it's how we respond to what happens that best reflects the company's underlying agility. So now, how do you respond to the unforeseen? It's through agility and flexibility, right? The agility to add or change trading partners, to onboard new customers, to accommodate new forms of transportation, to protect revenue streams, to preserve vital relationships in the face of ever-changing customer requirements and expectations. Let's take a quick look at the COVID-related plant closures in Vietnam. Many retailers were forced to shift their purchase orders, locations, and financial outlook because successive COVID outbreaks caused extended lockdowns in Vietnam. Companies including Abercrombie and Fitch, Big Lots, and Lands' End had to take major financial hits. So they had to take losses because delayed deliveries led to lost sales. So what really happened was the issues in Vietnam compounded import issues in the supply chain, and also put a clear spotlight for the need for flexibility and integration in global supply chains. As you can see from the results, Jonathan Ramsden, the CFO of Big Lots, says that the factory closures in Vietnam cost the company $60 million in lost sales. So the takeaway had to be clear that if you are a supply chain driven business, you have to expect disruption and need to embed flexibility and agility in your supply chain. Now, we saw the negative impact of disruption with the Big Lots example. But also what we see is leaders quickly take advantage of disruptions and opportunities in the market. An example of a company that absolutely took advantage of the opportunity caused by the COVID disruption was Zoom. Zoom essentially transitioned from a corporate tool for video conferencing to a mainstream cultural darling and became the Kleenex of online video conversation. How did they do that? They recognized disruption as an opportunity. Zoom rapidly responded to accommodate accelerating expectations. They scaled their growth. They exploded in terms of revenue, and the rest is history. Now, for all of us and all of you in the audience as manufacturers, wholesalers, logistics and transportation companies, can you be the Zoom of your industry? Yes, you can, provided you can embed flexibility and agility in your supply chain. Right? We know every connection you have is important. But even after you establish a connection, onboarded a new customer, still there are exceptions and there are failures, correct? And how well you respond to those exceptions and failures, that best describes and defines your company's agility. You're not agile if you have to build a connection from scratch every time you have to launch a new business relationship. You're not agile if you have too much reliance on a single source of supply. And you're not agile if you're if you're not building integrations in the cloud. You get agile if you modernize the integration as part of digital transformation. And if you do that, you'll be light years ahead. And that's what we see from winners like Amazon and Zoom, because they can respond very quickly to any disruption, any change in the market. And this is a hallmark of leaders, right? They capitalize on market disruption. Let's look at what the e-commerce winners are doing today. All of these e-commerce winners and many more, the Amazons, Alibabas, the LinkedIn's, Ubers, Zooms, Walmarts, they have baked agility into the platform. They're applying agility to change the world. Now, the rest of us can be just as agile if we embrace ecosystem integration, if we keep our data and our applications in the cloud, and if you have the ability and flexibility to connect to any business partner anywhere in the world. So the key is, how are you defining your company's B2B integration policy? How will you define your rules, especially in a world when the APIs do not have standards and they're absolutely on the increase? Herein we get the key lessons from e-commerce winners. They decide how they do things. They control the rules. They define how they do business with others. They shape the customer experience. They respond quickly to opportunity, disruption, and expectations. And they embrace a culture of agility. So what's really important to notice is the fundamental difference between the traditional application integration and B2B integration, what we define as ecosystem integration, is governance and control, right? It's about having governance over how you manage expectations and having control over what happens when something goes wrong or needs to change. Think about this. It's a very, very empowering situation to be in, right? And this is where we see the winners be able to enforce themselves, and they have the ability to dynamically sense and intelligently respond to market disruptions and opportunities. Now, you can do the two if you can modernize integration and orchestrate your future. So what do now? You take action. In fact, McKinsey had a very recent article when they called 2021 the year of transition. And I completely agree. They say that in 2021, individuals, businesses, and society can start to look forward to shaping the futures rather than just grinding through the present. And so, yes, the world remains an unpredictable place. And yes, as I mentioned, a lot of disruptions. We talked about fires, hurricanes, lockdowns, trade wars, inflation, they all exist. But despite all of this, you can be absolutely successful and be a winner if you can take few deliberate moves. Embracing organization agility. You can chart your course for digital transformation. And here is how we at Cleo can help you. We have defined a 5-stage maturity model for ecosystem enablement. The holy grail is level 5, which is dynamic and intelligent integration. But the good news is, regardless of where you are on the integration solution maturity, you can start anywhere and go everywhere. At successive levels in the ecosystem integration framework, there are increasing quality of business processes, there's evolution of business processes, because as more and more real-time integration technologies and capabilities are embedded into integration flows, you evolve to a more ecosystem-driven model. At the lowest level is file-based integration, what you know is managed file transfer technology. At the second level, you get data transformation, which is batch-based data transformation, like EDI, XML. Level 3 is when you enter the realm of ecosystems, because now you're opening up your internal backend systems and bringing in real-time APIs to gain end-to-end visibility. At level 4, you're now leveraging the newfound end-to-end visibility to serve up insights that inform decision-making. So levels 1 through 4, automation scales up as more and more real-time capabilities open up your business processes, right, to the external world and internally, and it's fully orchestrated. And level 3s and level 4 are very important because everything today we talk about digitalization revolves around APIs. Now we get to the holy grail, which is level 5. That's dynamic and intelligent integration that provides you the ability to dynamically sense and intelligently respond to any disruption or market opportunity. as our customers, we want all of our customers to get level 5. You need that in today's e-commerce driven world of digital transformation. And here is how Cleo will help you get there. Today, we're launching game-changing innovations to Cleo Integration Cloud. These innovations will revolutionize supply chain integration like it's never been done before. It'll add tremendous levels of agility to you, and it'll help our customers rapidly approach level 5 of ecosystem enablement. I'm talking about a new ecosystem accelerators. These are pre-built end-to-end integration flows between a back-end system of record, such as an ERP, CRM, WMS, TMS, to any front-end application or trading partner, like an Amazon Marketplace, Shopify, a retailer, or a customer. Each ecosystem accelerator comes pre-built with end-to-end business process logic based on which you can quickly deploy any standard EDI and API-based integrations. We have done all the hard integration work for you. We've done the heavy work for you to save time, money, and effort. And with Cleo's ecosystem accelerators, you simply configure the integrations. No coding is required. That's important. You simply configure and no coding is required. And with this, every ecosystem entity can be quickly connected, right? Opening up your ecosystem, scaling growth, driving revenues, and provide you the ability to meet and exceed ever-changing customer expectations really well. Now, your company will have end-to-end visibility in your supply chain operations across each and every transaction. For example, your e-commerce team will have the ability to efficiently manage the end-to-end complete lifecycle of transactions across multiple storefronts and marketplaces. Your EDI teams will get proactive alerting notification to be able to efficiently manage the compliance around the ecosystem. So today, you'll be getting NetSuite to Shopify Accelerator, NetSuite to Amazon Accelerator, NetSuite to EDI X12 Accelerator for the retailer. And very soon, you'll be getting Microsoft Dynamics 365 to Amazon. And you'll be getting TMW TruckMate TMS integration to EDI X12 for a retailer. And if you look at how aggressive Cleo's roadmap is, very soon, you'll have an ecosystem accelerator to connect any backend system to any front-end application. And with that, you can rapidly accelerate your time to revenue by deploying these integrations 4x faster. Now, you will be hearing a lot about ecosystem accelerators in today's conference. But first, why this and why now? Because value creation requires a combination of both digital transformation and supply chain agility. And we at Cleo fundamentally believe that our customers with using Cleo ecosystem accelerators will get to level 5 rather quickly. And with ecosystem accelerators, Cleo's leading the way, putting you in control, enabling you with the ability to intelligently respond by dynamically sensing to market opportunities. And with today's announcement of ecosystem accelerators, we have absolutely strengthened the Cleo Integration Cloud platform. Okay? With a rich set of capabilities already present in Cleo Integration Cloud. The CIC cockpit, the CIC studio, the CIC engine, the CIC agent. Now the CIC library is strengthened with accelerators and connectors. And by doing this, we're essentially answering the question, why Cleo? Why Cleo? Because no other cloud-based integration service offers this combination of domain, use case, load to invoice, order to cash, procure to pay, and industry expertise across manufacturing, logistics, distribution, retail, baked into the core engine and platform applications. And let me repeat, no one other than Cleo can provide this. We are your right partner. We want to work with you to help you digitally transform yourself and thrive with organizational agility. And this is because an agile business can do anything. Rapid partner onboarding, better informed decisions, increased revenue velocity, handle any digital order of any kind from anywhere, reign as an industry leader. We at Cleo, we want to be with you as a major partner in your digital transformation effort because we solve the industry's biggest problem, which is self-service B2B integration on the cloud. With Cleo Integration Cloud, you have the ability to codify agile behaviors across your enterprise and become a winner. The Cleo ecosystem accelerator is specifically designed with you in mind because we appreciate you, we understand your struggles, we know your challenges. And with Cleo, let's be your central lifeline. Let's be your agility catalyst. So we can help you transform in your e-commerce initiatives, front end, back end, all of it into it. Trust in Cleo, and I'm confident our customers will not only survive but thrive. And this is because, as we just discussed, agility is king. It's not what happens, it's how you respond. Winners define how they do business. And that's what we mean when we say embracing agility to lead in a world of digital transformation. Thank you.